Alrighty, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today is the first day back for question period. Now, Justin Trudeau, spoiler alert, is not there. He's actually in Brazil for a G20 summit, doing his absolute best to likely get us kicked out. But nonetheless, that's a story for a different day. Pierre Poilievre, Conservatives, they are ready. They come out guns a-blazing. Now, don't worry, law-abiding guns a-blazing. Let's not, get that mixed up with illegally guns a-blazing. Nonetheless, no pun intended there. Let's take a look at the question period highlights because, they've just been off for a week and there's a lot of built-up tension, especially with Randy. Randy has been accused of pretending to be Indigenous in order to get a bunch of government grants. Now, as much as I want to respect the hustle, he's a federal MP and he's using his position to try and get internal grants, which is a very big abuse of power and breaks a lot of ethics violations or causes a lot of ethics violations. So again, there's a lot of built up tension. So before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And without further ado, here are today's question period highlights.
But in order for you to trust your government, you need a government that will trust you. When we make a mistake, as all governments do, it is important that we acknowledge that mistake and we learn from it. We know that you do not expect us to be perfect, but you expect us to work tirelessly and to be honest, open, and sincere in our efforts to serve the public interest. He finalized the letter by saying this, Mr. Speaker: I am committed to leading an open, honest government that is accountable to Canadians, lives up to the highest ethical standards, brings our country together, and applies the utmost care and prudence in the handling of public funds. What an absolute joke, let alone disgrace to the Canadians who voted him into power into 2015. Because we've seen nothing but an open, honest, ethical government. And just to name a few of the scandals that we have discussed over the last 9 years, we all remember Gropegate. We remember Elbowgate. We remember blackface, with the Prime Minister not even remember how many times he wore blackface.
Oh my God.
We all remember the disgraceful comment to an Indigenous proud woman at a fundraiser: thank you for your donation. We remember the experience it differently.
Point of order to the Honourable Member for Timmins James Bay.
Yeah, I think he just misrepresented. The disgraceful comment was the leader of the Conservatives who said Indigenous people needed to learn how to work hard.
That's we're following the debate again. So yes, I appreciate.
Shut it down.
Let's stick to the points of order for this House. The Honourable Member for
Nothing to say about the blackface, eh?
Disrupting all the time.
So where I was interrupted with not a point of order but debate was I was talking about
oh my goodness
differently by our Prime Minister. We of course know the SNC scandal. We know the WE scandal, the ArriveCan scandal, which continues to be debated in committee and in this House, the Green Slush Fund scandal that is approaching $1 billion of wasteful taxpayer dollars. We remember foreign interference that is still a problem with our democracy. We remember Billionaires Row condo scandal. And now, Mr. Speaker, we have the other Randy scandal. For the past 9 years, this Prime Minister has led the most ethically compromised government in Canadian history. It took him more than a year of foot dragging to appoint an ethics commissioner. Probably because, without one, he and his government and his backbench wouldn't be investigated for bad, unethical behavior.
Holy smokes.
From his frequent taxpayer-funded vacations, his protection of SNC-Lavalin, granting a government contract to a company that gave money to his family members, handing out billions of dollars to well-connected Liberal insiders and consultants, the Prime Minister has a long track record of using government to benefit himself and his friends, and Liberal MPs are learning from the best.
Oral questions. Oral questions. Questions on. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, soon to be ex-Prime Minister Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Maniac masquerading as a firefighter, this time on immigration. He blames bad actors for his decisions on that destroyed our immigration system. He decided to increase and open the door to 726% more asylum claims. He decided to approve 211% more international students. He decided to lift the ban on temporary foreign workers in communities with already high unemployment. If the Prime Minister is hunting for the quote-unquote bad actors who ruined the system, will he have a look in the mirror?
Yes.
Bad actor and drama teacher.
In refugees and citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think we'll take any lessons from someone who spent the last 20 years lighting fires in the House of Commons. That's it. We put forward a plan 2 weeks ago to reduce immigration levels by 20%. Canadians expect us to be responsible and to react to their needs. That's what we're doing with this plan. The Parliamentary Budget Officer himself has said that this new plan will reduce housing needs by 50%. That's what Canadians want. It's responsible.
Very good.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Employment Minister first denied that he and his company were profiting off government business, and then text messages showed the contrary. They referred to a Randy. Well, he claimed that it was another Randy. We now know there is no other Randy. We know he falsely claimed he was Indigenous in order to so that his company could steal resources that were meant for real Indigenous people. And now his company address matches the address of a place that was the location of 2 cocaine busts. Any one of these things would be a resigning offense. Why won't he resign now?
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Pierre ain't joking around today.
Order.
One Randy's white, the other Randy's Indigenous.
For
One shirtless and eats cheeseburgers.
and workforce development.
Mr. Speaker,
There he is.
person referred to in today's article. I've never met that person. I've had no dealings with her whatsoever. Those are the facts.
This guy's bipolar. He is the other person.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, this is funny.
Apparently, the person he doesn't know is himself.
Ah, there it is.
Says that he's not the Randy in the text messages, but his own business associates say there is no other Randy. He says that he said that he was Indigenous in order that he could get grants and contracts that were meant just for Indigenous people. Now he admits he's not Indigenous at all. And now, while his company has the same address as a place that has 2 cocaine busts, he says he doesn't know the person involved in that address either. Does this minister even know who he is?
Wow.
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, the article states.
And ask all members, please. There's the Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development from the top.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know the person referred to in the article today. I've never met her. I've had no dealings.
Never met her?
However, the article states that fact, and that is the fact.
Whoa, what do you mean never met her?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After the Prime Minister took his private jet, burned 105 tons of jet fuel, and emitted 300 tons of greenhouse gases to go down to Brazil, he claimed that Canadians who are opposed to his carbon tax are just confused by disinformation. No, Canadians aren't stupid, Mr. Speaker. They know that the Parliamentary Budget Officer has calculated that 100% of middle-class Canadians pay more in the tax than they get back. The Prime Minister already also said, though, that this will be the subject of the next election. I couldn't agree more. So why don't we have a carbon tax election now?
There you go. Call the election.
The Honourable Minister for Order.
Order. He wants to mute the mic, but he won't.
For Resources. And
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, it would be nice if the Leader of the Opposition was not spouting disinformation and misinformation in the House. At the end of the day, 8 out of 10 Canadian families, the vast majority of Canadians, get more money back. It is those that actually live on the most modest incomes that are the best off as a result of the price on pollution. But I would also say it is a price on pollution. It is about addressing climate change, something that organization across the way simply has no idea how to do and does not care.
It seems like every time the employment minister finds rock bottom, it keeps getting worse. First, he said he wasn't the Randy involved in his company, but we know there was only one Randy at his company. He said he wasn't involved with his company while in cabinet, and text messages reveal that he is. He said that he was Indigenous to profit from government contracts stealing from First Nations communities, and now there's new news of coordinating business activities with drug smugglers and convicts. This is the behavior of a low-life fraud, not a federal cabinet minister. Simple question. How does that guy still have his job?
Wow!
Order.
I mean, it is greasy. It's greasy for just a regular person. It's super greasy for a federal MP to have done this.
Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, despite the innuendo, here are the facts. I don't know the person in question. I never met that person in question. And Mr. Speaker, those are simply the facts. The article even says that I've never met the person in question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
This dude isn't going to be able to handle the pressure. They keep pressing, he'll crack.
Speaker, here are the facts. He flaunts the ethics rules. He claims a false identity. He gets caught in a web of lies. That's what the Prime Minister rewards after 9 years. With each passing day, we find out more about the Employment Minister's scams and schemes, and we learn that he's just a phony and a fraud. Canadians want to know. Indigenous communities who stole from him, who he stole from, want to know, and Liberal backbenchers want to know when the Prime Minister is going to fire that cabinet minister.
Put some W's in the chat for that one.
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know the person in the article from today. I've never met the person in the article from today. Those are the facts. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives may not like it, but it's actually in the article that I don't know the person in question. Never met them.
The Honourable Member from Leeds.
We don't believe you.
Rideau Lakes.
The Liberal minister from Alberta is a fake and a fraud. He said he was not the Randy involved in his company, but we know that there's only one Randy. He said he wasn't involved in his company at the cabinet table.
I'm going to ask colleagues. Today we've been skating close to the line in terms
Whoa!
Colleagues.
What are you going to do, mute it? Look at him. Look at him. His twitch. He's like, I want to mute the mic.
My comment again, if you would give me the privilege.
I'll do another petition.
At several occasions today, we've been skating close to the line in terms of what's acceptable.
Ah, he's trained.
The Honourable Member from Leeds Grenville, I think, has skated over that line and accusing.
We did it, guys.
Can I ask the Honourable Member to withdraw that comment?
We did it.
His question.
Restart, Speaker, that this Liberal minister from Alberta has been implicated in fraud in media reports. Today, we've seen that. It's very clear.
I'm just going to, I'm not certain if I was having trouble hearing the member. I don't think I heard the withdraw. If you could withdraw and start again, I'd appreciate it. If members were not to take the floor while a member is being recognized, the speaker will be able to hear the member. The Honourable Member from Leeds.
Oh my goodness.
And Rideau Lakes.
Withdrawing the previous words, Speaker, we'll talk about this Liberal minister from Alberta who has been implicated in media reports in fraud. Some of them he's even apologized for. He misrepresented his identity, claiming to be Indigenous, trying to steal contracts from people who are in fact Indigenous. This same minister said that he wasn't the Randy at his own company. We know that there was only one Randy at that company. It's pandemic profiteering. We know that there's allegations of fraud. Why is it that this Prime Minister just won't fire that minister?
That's a good question.
The honorable minister for employment and workforce development.
Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite just said is simply not true.
The honorable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
It's unbelievable that with the cocaine connections to the Liberal minister from Alberta, that those Liberals, that Prime Minister, want to allow him to continue to be in Cabinet. He said that he was Indigenous to try and steal contracts from individuals who are Indigenous. That's okay as long as you are a Liberal. The company is involved in more than half a dozen lawsuits because of fraud, and that's okay as long as you're a Liberal. They came before committee and said things that we now know weren't true, like it must have been some other Randy. If he won't resign, why won't this Prime Minister fire that fraudster?
I had Bannock a few months ago. Give me the grants too. Je suis Randy. Is that how that works? Am I allowed to do that? Can I say that? Am I going to get canceled?
Last possible moment.
Then Randy should also get canceled.
Would not be considered acceptable. Can I just ask the honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island, and Rideau Lakes to please withdraw that last word?
I'll withdraw the last word. He should be fired.
The honourable member, the honourable minister for employment and workforce development.
Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite said, once again, is not true.
Honourable member from Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
The minister from Edmonton is a fake and a phony.
Whoa.
He said that he was
Whoa! Now, normally Greg Fergus would mute the microphone, but since the petition that I started, that you guys supported, has been so successful,
a couple of times
he's scared. He's scared to mute the microphone. Keep that in mind.
I'm going to ask the honourable members again to remember when they speak directly to members, they have to be, of course, extend to them all the respect that each member, as members, are deserving of. So I'm going to ask the honourable member, please, to rephrase this question to start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, this minister deserves to be criticized in the People's House, the House of Commons.
Wow!
Randy involved in his company. We know
throw some W's down.
At the company. He said he wasn't involved in the operations of the company, but text messages reveal that he is. He said he was Indigenous to profit from government contracts, trying to steal from First Nations communities. When will the Prime Minister fire this phony for making false claims to steal from First Nations?
Yeah.
To invite all members.
Ooh, dude, I told you it'd be heated today.
Of their language in this place. The honourable leader of the government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleague has addressed this issue and stated that those claims are false. Mr. Speaker, we addressed the fact that that business was never listed as an Indigenous business on the procurement.
Speak up.
In fact, received no funding from the government of Canada. Thank you. Good answer.
Freeland, good job. Good job. So in this instance, he's muting the microphone because the chair is speaking to the other funny dude in the pirate costume. That's all right.
The honourable
member
from Sherwood Park,
I'll allow it.
Saskatchewan.
The company did actually receive funding from the Government of Canada. The Minister of Employment's business partner claimed that their company was fully Indigenous owned. How would he have gotten that impression? Maybe because the Liberal Party repeatedly said that the minister was Indigenous. Now, it is possible to get kicked out of the Liberals' Indigenous caucus, not for corruption, but for refusing to participate in corruption, as Jody Wilson-Raybould found out. After 9 years, they've gone from firing the first Indigenous Attorney General to keeping the first fake Indigenous Minister of Employment. When will the Prime Minister fire this phony minister?
Yeah. There you go. Look at the friggin' vampire standing up. What's he gonna say?
I'm going to encourage all members to be more judicious.
He wants to mute it so bad.
Directly to other members. The Honourable Minister for Public Services and Service Public.
Public services.
You guy, you just talk. The one standing, you just talk. How about that?
Our colleague knows full well that in the House we have to choose the right words to express things properly. He would like to, if he'd like to know more about the procurement process in favor of Indigenous companies, what's really important for Canadians, he should ask it so in a respectful way, and I would be happy to meet with him to explain to him how things work. I will encourage the honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent, please, to not speak until he's recognized by the chair.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years, it's clear that this NDP Liberal government isn't worth the cost or the corruption. Now we have a Minister of Employment who says he sees nothing, he hears nothing, he knows nothing, but there's too much here to pass up. First, he claimed he wasn't the other Randy implicated in his business partner's text messages. We now know that he was. Then he claimed that he had no active role in his company's operations while he served in cabinet. We now know that he did. And we now know that he claimed Indigenous heritage and status, and it was a complete fabrication. These attempts to steal funds earmarked for Indigenous companies is fraudulent. When will enough be enough for this Prime Minister? When will he fire this minister?
There you go. I like it when Dane Lloyd speaks.
Public Works and Procurement.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Deux premières.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Two things. First of all, what the member just said is false. And secondly, the minister has explained himself.
I don't know why he does this.
What we have still not heard today is why the Conservative leader still has taken hundreds of days to get his security briefing, not just to protect himself, but to protect his own members. His only priority is to trigger an election. How can he expect to hold an election without being able to protect the security of his party and his members?
From Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this minister keeps explaining himself, but the answers aren't coming. The minister's facing multiple scandals. We know that his company has been charged with fraud. We know that he was illegally involved while he served in cabinet. We know that the minister for years claimed that he had Indigenous heritage, and we now know that's a complete fabrication. And today we learned that the minister's company shared a post office box with a known international cocaine dealer. At best, the minister has shown abhorrence. And at worst, he is completely corrupt. The fact that this Prime Minister continues to have confidence in him demonstrates exactly why he's not fit to lead this country. When will this Prime Minister fire this minister?
Wow. Put some W's down. Oh, here we go. The whisper.
Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague has stated that those are all false, and he did not know this person in question. But if you want to talk about fit for leadership, you should be asking his own leader why he has not yet gotten
his security clearance.
Because if that's someone who wants to lead the country,
Freeland is louder than her.
Risks are facing Canadians. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are wondering why the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada has not gotten a security clearance. Thank you.
Yes, they are wondering that.
No, people are
Dolphins,
not wondering that.
The Honourable Member from Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's only minister from Alberta is accused of being a fake and a fraud. The member from Edmonton Centre said he wasn't the Randy involved in his company. Yet we know he is the only Randy involved in that company. He said he wasn't involved with his company while in cabinet, yet text messages clearly show that he was. Right. He pretended to be Indigenous to profit from government contracts, effectively stealing from First Nations businesses. Mr. Speaker, enough is enough. When will the Prime Minister do his job and fire that minister?
Look at that, man. Common sense, huh? Let's throw some W's down for support.
In the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, my colleague has addressed those issues that the colleague raises.
Yo, if I fart right now, it'll be louder than her.
False. Mr. Speaker,
just saying.
We have stated that that business was not listed as an Indigenous business, and it did not receive funding through that program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very good.
It's not my audio. Everything is fine. It's her. I could rip a fart,
Winnipeg Centre,
and it would suppress her voice.
Families are getting gouged on essentials by greedy CEOs. Liberals have let families down. And the Conservatives, all they're planning to do is cut like the National School Food Program, making kids go hungry. But there's good news, Mr. Speaker. The NDP's plan to remove GST on life essentials like kids, clothing and diapers will bring relief to so many families. Will the Liberals follow the NDP's lead and cut the GST so families can get ahead?
The Honourable Minister for Families and Children.
As the members rightly pointed out, on this side of the House, we're moving forward with a national school food program, which we've heard again and again the leader of the Conservative Party call bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, Mr. Speaker, is not what is happening. We are seeing thousands of children already this school year receive food at school because of this investment in our children. We'll continue to work with the provinces to see this roll out across the country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian families are getting gouged on essentials while the biggest corporations are posting massive profits. And the Liberals could have prevented this, but instead they've let Canadians down. Now, Conservative cuts would make matters far worse. In fact, cutting childcare alone would cost Canadian families up to $13,000 per child. The NDP has a plan to take the GST off essentials like home heat, phone and internet bills, kids' clothing. Will the Liberals do it?
The Honourable Minister for Families, Children and Social Development.
Mr. Speaker, it's great to hear this member speak about the importance of the investments that we've made in childcare. Mr. Speaker, we've seen almost 1 million families. These are real people, Mr. Speaker, that we've been able to support to get them into affordable, high-quality childcare, saving them thousands of dollars each and every year. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have made it clear they do not support affordable childcare. They will do everything
They don't support wasteless or wasteful spending.
I'm going to invite ministers and members of the opposition to have their conversations outside and not on over the floor while someone else is speaking or has the microphone.